Hello everyone, my name is Adaugo and you are watching the African Tales channel by Adaugo. Before we dive into today's video, please kindly click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now let's get into the story. Ikechi's mother-in-law couldn't hide her feelings for her son-in-law who got married to her daughter Adanne. Ikechi was a young man from the village of Umuaga. He was known for his kindness and hard work. Everyone in the village liked Ikechi. One day, he met Adanne, a beautiful girl from the neighboring village of Umuofia. They fell in love and soon got married. Adanne's mother, Mama Nneka, was very happy that her daughter was getting married to such a good man. But after the wedding, something strange started to happen. Mama Nneka couldn't hide her feelings for Ikechi. She found herself thinking about him all the time. She loved the way he smiled, his gentle voice, and how he treated everyone with respect. One evening, Ikechi was sitting outside his hut, watching the stars. Mama Nneka came to visit. She brought some yam porridge for him. "Ikechi, I made this for you," she said, smiling warmly. "Thank you, Mama Nneka," Ikechi replied, accepting the bowl. He didn't notice the way she looked at him. As days passed, Mama Nneka's feelings grew stronger. She tried to hide them, but it was hard. Whenever she saw Ikechi, her heart skipped a beat. One day, she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Ikechi," she said, "can we talk?" "Of course, Mama Nneka," Ikechi said, sitting down beside her. I have feelings for you," she admitted, looking down at her feet. Ikechi was shocked. He didn't know what to say. "Mama Nneka, you are like a mother to me," he said finally. "I respect you a lot, but I am married to Adanne. I love her." Mama Nneka felt ashamed. She had never meant to cause trouble. "I am sorry, Ikechi," she whispered. "I didn't mean to make things complicated." But things did get complicated. Adanne noticed that her mother was visiting more often. She started to feel uneasy. One day, she saw her mother looking at Ikechi in a way that made her heart pound with fear. "Mother, what is going on?" Adanne asked one night. Mama Nneka looked at her daughter, tears filling her eyes. "I am so sorry, Adanne," she said. "I have been foolish. I let my feelings for Ikechi get out of hand. But I promise I will not come between you two." Adanne felt torn. She loved her mother, but she also loved Ikechi. She didn't know what to do. Ikechi tried to comfort her. "We will get through this," he said. "We are strong together." The news of Mama Nneka's feelings for Ikechi spread through the village. People whispered behind their backs. It was a difficult time for everyone. One day, while Ikechi was walking in the fields, a young girl named Chioma came running. "Ikechi, come quick, Adanne is sick," she cried. Ikechi dropped his tools and ran home. He found Adanne lying on the bed, pale and weak. "We need to take her to the healer," Ikechi said. He lifted Adanne in his arms and carried her to the healer's hut. The healer, an old woman named Mamozioma, looked at Adanne carefully. "She is very ill," Mamozioma said, "but I will do my best to help her." Ikechi stayed by Adanne's side, holding her hands. Mama Nneka arrived, tears streaming down her face. "This is all my fault," she sobbed. "If I hadn't caused so much trouble, Adanne would be fine." Ikechi shook his head. "It's not your fault, Mama Nneka. Adanne is strong. She will get better." The days passed slowly. Adanne's condition improved little by little. Ikechi and Mama Nneka took turns caring for her. They worked together, putting aside their differences for Adanne's sake. One night, as Ikechi sat beside Adanne, she opened her eyes. "Ikechi," she whispered, "I had a dream. I saw us happy again." "We will be happy again," Ikechi promised. "I will always be here for you." As Adanne's health continued to improve, Ikechi and Mama Nneka realized they needed to mend their relationship for the family's sake. They worked together to make things right, and in time, the village began to see them as a strong, united family. However, there were still challenges ahead. The journey of healing and rebuilding trust had only just begun. Ikechi, Adanne, and Mama Nneka would face new trials, but with love and determination, they believed they could overcome anything. The story of Ikechi, Adanne, and Mama Nneka was far from over. Their lives were intertwined with love, conflict, and hope, leading them to an uncertain but hopeful future. As Adanne regained her strength, life slowly returned to normal in Umuaga. The whispers in the village quieted down, and the family worked hard to rebuild their trust and unity. One sunny morning, Ikechi decided to take Adanne to a nearby river, a place where they often went when they were courting. The river was a beautiful, serene place with clear water and tall trees providing shade. As they walked hand in hand, Adanne leaned her head on Ikechi's shoulder, feeling safe and loved. "Ikechi, do you remember the first time we came here?" Adanne asked, smiling softly. "Yes, I do," Ikechi replied. "You were so shy, but your laughter filled the air like music. I knew then that I wanted to spend my life with you." They sat by the river, watching the water flow and talking about their dreams for the future. Adanne felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She knew that with Ikechi by her side, they could face any challenge. Meanwhile, back in the village, Mama Nneka was struggling with her feelings. She knew she had to let go of her emotions for Ikechi and focus on being a good mother and mother-in-law. She decided to visit the wise elder, Papa Chidi, for advice. Papa Chidi lived on the outskirts of the village. He was known for his wisdom and ability to solve problems. When Mama Nneka arrived, he welcomed her warmly. "Mama Nneka, what brings you here today?" Papa Chidi asked. "I have come for guidance," Mama Nneka said. "I have feelings for my son-in-law, Ikechi, and it is causing trouble in our family. I need to find a way to let go and make things right." Papa Chidi listened carefully. After a moment of silence, he spoke. Feelings can be powerful, but they do not have to control us. Focus on the love you have for your daughter and the respect you have for Ikechi. Channel your emotions into helping them build a strong, happy life together. In time, your feelings will fade. Mama Nneka nodded, feeling a sense of relief. Thank you, Papa Chidi. I will do my best. As the weeks passed, Mama Nneka worked hard to follow Papa Chidi's advice. She spent more time with Adanne, helping her with house chores and sharing stories from her own youth. She also made an effort to support Ikechi, offering him encouragement and praise for his hard work. One evening, as they all sat together for dinner, Adanne looked around the table and smiled. I am so grateful for our family, she said. We have been through so much, but we are stronger because of it. Ikechi nodded in agreement. We have come a long way and I believe our future is bright. Just as things were settling down, a new challenge emerged. A wealthy trader named Obinna arrived in Umuaga, seeking to buy land for his expanding business. He was charming and persuasive, and he quickly won the favor of many villagers. One day, Obinna approached Ikechi with an offer. Ikechi, you have a beautiful piece of land by the river. I would like to buy it from you at a generous price. It could change your life. Ikechi was taken aback. He loved the land by the river.
Hello everyone,
It
my name
held
is
special
Adaugo
memories
and
for
you're
him
watching the
and
African
Adanne.
Tales channel by
But the money
Adaugo.
Obinna was offering could
Before we
provide
dive
them with
into today's
financial
video,
security
kindly
and
click
new
on that subscribe
opportunities.
button and turn on the notification bell
I need time
so
to
you will
think
be
about
notified
it,
whenever
Ikechi
I
said.
upload a new video.
When he told Adanne
Now
about the
let's get into the
offer,
story.
she was conflicted. I love that land, Ikechi,
Miriam and Jacob lived
but I
in
also see the
Abuja,
possibilities
one
the
of the
money
big
could
cities
bring.
in Nigeria.
It is a difficult decision.
One evening, Jacob came
They
home
decided
while
to seek
Miriam and
advice
their
from Mama
kids were in
Nneka
the living
and
room
Papa
watching
Chidi.
a movie. He looked
That
worried,
evening, they all
like he
gathered
had seen
around
a
the
ghost.
fire, discussing the pros
Kids,
and
it's
cons of selling the
bedtime,
land.
Jacob said quickly.
Papa Chidi
The children
listened
protested,
thoughtfully.
but they knew better than to argue with
Sometimes,
their father.
the things we hold dear are worth more than money. But other times, change can bring new blessings. You must follow your heart and choose wisely. The decision weighed heavily on Ikechi and Adanne. They knew that whatever they chose, their lives would be forever changed. They spent the next few days reflecting on their options, seeking wisdom in their dreams and in each other's eyes. As they stood by the river one last time before making their decision, Adanne held Ikechi's hand tightly. No matter what we decide, Ikechi, we will face it together. Ikechi nodded, feeling the strength of their bond. They were ready to face the future, whatever it might bring, with love and unity. Ikechi and Adanne spent several sleepless nights discussing Obinna's offer. Their love for the land by the river, with all its memories, weighed heavily on their hearts. But the promise of a secure future was tempting. One morning, as the sun began to rise, Ikechi made up his mind. Adanne, he said softly, I think we should keep the land. It's a part of our story, our love. No amount of money can replace that. Adanne's eyes filled with tears of relief. Ikechi, I feel the same. Let's cherish what we have and trust that we will find other ways to secure our future. They decided to inform Obinna of their decision. When they met with him, Obinna was disappointed but respected their choice. "You are brave to follow your heart," he said. "If you ever change your mind, my offer still stands." Life in Umuaga returned to normal. Ikechi and Adanne focused on their farm and their growing family. Adanne soon discovered she was expecting their first child, which brought immense joy to everyone, including Mama Nneka. Mama Nneka, seeing the happiness in Ikechi and Adanne's life, felt her heart beginning to heal. She was determined to be the best grandmother she could be, pouring all her love and care into the new baby. Months passed, and the day finally came when Adanne went into labor. It was a long and difficult process, but with the help of the village midwives, a healthy baby boy was born. They named him Chibueze, meaning God is King. The entire village celebrated the birth of Chibueze. There was singing, dancing, and feasting. Ikechi and Adanne were overwhelmed with happiness and gratitude. They knew that their family was blessed. As Chibueze grew, he became the light of Ikechi and Adanne's life. Mama Nneka adored him and spent every moment she could with him. The bond between them was strong, and Mama Nneka's past feelings for Ikechi seemed like a distant memory.
Hello everyone, my name is Adaugo and you are watching the African Tales channel by Adaugo. Please, before we dive into today's video, kindly click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now let's get into the story. Miriam and Jacob lived in Abuja, one of the big cities in Nigeria. One evening, Jacob came home while Miriam and their kids were in the living room watching a movie. He looked worried, like he had seen a ghost. "Kids, it's bedtime," Jacob said quickly. The children protested, but they knew better than to argue with their father when he used that tone. Miriam was puzzled. Jacob never sent the kids to bed this early. "Miriam, I need to talk to you," Jacob said, leading her into their bedroom. He looked so serious that Miriam's heart began to race. What was going on? Jacob knelt down, holding Miriam's hands tightly. "Miriam, I have something terrible to tell you," he started, his voice shaky. Miriam's heart pounded even harder. "What is it, Jacob?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I made a terrible mistake," Jacob confessed. "I've been unfaithful. Rosemary is pregnant and now she's threatening to ruin our marriage unless I agree to send her abroad." Miriam's mouth fell open. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Jacob, her loving husband, had cheated on her. "I thought about it," Jacob continued, "but the cost, the money would be better spent on our family. Miriam, I am so sorry. Please forgive me." Miriam's mind was spinning. She knew Rosemary was lying. Jacob was medically impotent. But how could she reveal this truth without destroying everything? The children weren't Jacob's biological kids. These secrets could tear their family apart. Miriam decided to talk to her best friend, Jessica. Maybe she could help. The next day, she met Jessica at their favorite spot in the park. "Jessica, I need your advice," Miriam said, her voice trembling. She told Jessica everything, from Jacob's confession to the secret about the children. Jessica listened carefully, her face serious. "Miriam, this is a tough situation. You need to think about what's best for your family. Maybe you can find a way to talk to Rosemary. Make her understand without revealing Jacob's secrets." "But what if she doesn't listen?" Miriam asked, feeling even more scared. "Then we have to come up with a plan," Jessica said firmly. "You have to protect your family, Miriam." As the days passed, Miriam and Jessica tried to think of a way out. Miriam couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. She was terrified that everything she had built with Jacob could come crashing down. One evening, as Miriam was putting the kids to bed, she heard a knock on the door. Her heart skipped a beat. It was Rosemary. She looked smug, like she knew she held all the power. "I need to talk to Jacob," Rosemary said, pushing past Miriam into the house. Miriam felt a surge of anger. She couldn't let Rosemary destroy her family. "You can't just barge in here," Miriam said, her voice shaking with rage. "You need to leave." Rosemary smirked. "Or what? You'll tell Jacob secrets? Go ahead. Let's see how that turns out for you." Miriam's blood ran cold. Rosemary knew. She knew about Jacob's condition. How? "I don't know what you're talking about," Miriam said, trying to sound confident. But inside, she was terrified. Rosemary laughed. "Oh, Miriam, you're such a good wife, protecting Jacob like that. But I know the truth. And if you don't do as I say, everyone will know." Miriam felt like she was drowning. She had to protect her family. But how? She needed a plan, and fast. The next day, Miriam met Jessica again. "Jessica, Rosemary knows," Miriam said, her voice shaking. "She knows about Jacob's condition." Jessica looked shocked. "How? Who could have told her?" "I don't know," Miriam said, feeling hopeless. "But we need to do something. I can't let her ruin everything." Jessica thought for a moment. Maybe we can turn the tables on her. Find something she wants even more than a trip abroad. Miriam nodded slowly. But what? What could be more important to her? "We will figure it out," Jessica said, determination in her eyes. "We will protect your family, Miriam, I promise." And so, the two friends began their plan to save Miriam's family. They had to be smart. They had to be careful. But most of all, they had to succeed. The future of Miriam's family depended on it. Miriam and Jessica's plan had to be foolproof. They spent days trying to figure out what could possibly make Rosemary back off. Miriam felt the weight of her secrets pressing down on her every moment. She couldn't let her family fall apart. One afternoon, as Miriam was cleaning up after lunch, she received a call from Jessica. "Miriam, I think I have an idea. Let's meet." Miriam hurried to their usual spot in the park. Jessica was already there, looking excited. "I did some digging," Jessica said. "Rosemary has been talking to a man named Kola. He's known for helping people with, let's say, questionable business deals." Miriam frowned. "What do you mean?" Jessica leaned in closer. "I mean, he might have the kind of information we need to turn the tables on Rosemary. If we can find out what she's really after, we can use it against her." Miriam's heart raced. This could be the break they needed. How do we get to Kola? Jessica smiled. I have a cousin who knows him. I can set up a meeting. Miriam nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in days. Let's do this. A few days later, Miriam and Jessica met with Kola in a small, dimly lit restaurant. Kola was a tall, imposing man with a serious expression. I hear you need some information, Kola said, getting straight to the point. Miriam took a deep breath. Yes, we need to know what Rosemary is really after. She's threatening my family. Kola nodded thoughtfully. Rosemary is ambitious. She's not just after a trip abroad. She wants power, connections. If you can offer her something that gives her more than what she thinks she can get from your husband, she might back off. Miriam's mind raced. What could they offer that would be more valuable to Rosemary than Jacob's money? Suddenly, an idea hit her. What if we offered her a position in a high-profile company? Miriam suggested. Something that gives her the status and connection she craves. Kola smiled. That could work, but you will need to make it convincing. Jessica chimed in. I know someone who can help with that. My uncle works in a big company and owes me a favor. We can make it look legitimate. Miriam felt a surge of hope. This could actually work. Let's do it. The next few days were a whirlwind.
Jessica's uncle agreed to help, and they put together an offer that would be hard for Rosemary to refuse. Miriam was nervous, but she knew she had to stay strong for her family. Finally, the day came to confront Rosemary. Miriam and Jessica met her in a quiet cafe, away from prying eyes. Rosemary, we need to talk, Miriam said, trying to keep her voice steady. Rosemary smirked. What now, Miriam? More empty threats? Miriam took a deep breath. We know what you want, Rosemary, and we are prepared to offer you something better. Rosemary raised an eyebrow. Oh, and what might that be? Jessica handed Rosemary a folder. A position in a high-profile company. It comes with a great salary, connections, and a chance to build the life you want. All we ask is that you leave Miriam's family alone. Rosemary's eyes widened as she looked through the documents. This is real? Miriam nodded. Yes, it's real. You can have everything you want without destroying my family. Rosemary seemed to consider it for a moment. Finally, she sighed. Fine, I'll take the job. But if I find out this is a trick, you will regret it. Miriam nodded, relief flooding through her. It's not a trick. Just leave us alone. As Rosemary left the cafe, Miriam felt a weight lift off her shoulders. They had done it. They had saved her family. But as she and Jessica walked back to the car, Miriam couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Rosemary might have agreed to their terms, but she was still a threat. They had to stay vigilant, protect their secrets, and make sure their family stayed safe. Miriam knew this was just the beginning. She would do whatever it took to keep her family together, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The next few weeks were a mix of relief and tension. Miriam was grateful that Rosemary had accepted their offer, but she couldn't shake the feeling of unease. She knew that Rosemary was unpredictable and could still cause trouble. One evening, as Miriam was preparing dinner,
Jacob walked into the kitchen. He looked much better than he had in weeks. The stress lines on his face slowly fading. "Miriam, I don't know how to thank you," he said, wrapping his arms around her. "I don't know what you did, but things seem to be getting better." Miriam smiled, hiding her inner turmoil. "We are a team, Jacob. We handle everything together." Just as she was about to put the finishing touches on dinner, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jessica. "Urgent. Need to meet. Park. Now." Miriam's heart skipped a beat. She quickly finished up in the kitchen and made an excuse to Jacob, saying she needed to run an errand. In the park, Jessica was pacing nervously. "Miriam, we have a problem," she said as soon as she saw her friend. "What happened?" Miriam asked, her heart pounding. "Rosemary is stirring up trouble again. She got the job, but now she's using her position to dig up debt on Jacob. She wants more than just the job. She's still looking for leverage." Miriam felt a wave of anger and fear. "Why can't she just leave us alone?" Jessica shook her head. "She's ambitious, Miriam. She won't stop until she gets everything she wants. We need to find a way to neutralize her for good." Miriam thought for a moment. Maybe we can use her own ambition against her. What if we make her think there is a bigger opportunity somewhere far away? Something that will keep her occupied and out of our lives. Jessica nodded slowly. That could work. But how do we make it convincing? Miriam's mind raced. We could create a fake job offer. Something that looks even better than what she has now. If she thinks she has a chance to get something bigger, she'll take it. Jessica smiled. That's brilliant. Let's do it. They spent the next few days crafting a perfect fake job offer. They made it look like it came from a prestigious international company with an impressive salary and perks. Miriam used all her creativity to make the offer irresistible. When they were ready, they arranged for Rosemary to accidentally find the offer. Miriam felt a mix of anxiety and hope as they waited to see what would happen. A week later, Rosemary contacted Miriam. I don't know what you're playing at, but I've received an offer I can't refuse, she said, her voice dripping with suspicion. I'll be leaving the country soon, but mark my words, if I find out you had anything to do with this, you will regret it. Miriam felt a wave of relief mixed with dread. Good luck, Rosemary. I hope you find what you're looking for. As Rosemary left, Miriam allowed herself to breathe a little easier. They had managed to buy some time, but the threat was still there, locking in the shadows. Back at home, Miriam focused on her family. She spent more time with the kids, trying to create happy memories to push away fear. Jacob, sensing the change in her, seemed more at ease too. One night, as they were all gathered in the living room, Jacob turned to Miriam. I feel like things are finally getting back to normal, he said, squeezing her hand. Miriam smiled, though her heart was still heavy. Yes, we are getting there. But deep down, Miriam knew they had to stay vigilant. Rosemary might be gone for now, but there was always a chance she could return. They had to be prepared for anything. Days turned into weeks, and life seemed to settle in a new normal. Miriam and Jacob found a renewed closeness, and the children seemed happier than ever. But Miriam couldn't shake the feeling that their peace was fragile, that it could shatter at any moment. One afternoon, as Miriam was picking up the kids from school, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello, Miriam," a familiar voice said. It was Rosemary. "I thought you'd like to know that I'll be back sooner than you think. And this time, I won't be so easy to get rid of." Miriam's heart sank. She knew they were in for another battle, but this time, she was determined to protect her family at all costs. She wouldn't let Rosemary destroy what she had fought so hard to preserve. As she hung up the phone, Miriam looked at her children and felt a surge of determination. They deserved a family, happy, secure life. She would do whatever it took to ensure that no matter what challenges lay ahead. Miriam knew the fight wasn't over, but she was ready. She had her family, her friends, and a newfound strength. Together, they would face whatever came their way, and they would come out stronger on the other side. Miriam felt her hands tremble as she ended the call with Rosemary. The looming threat of her return cast a shadow over the peaceful life they had begun to rebuild. She knew she couldn't face this alone. She needed to talk to Jessica again and plan their next move. That evening, after the kids were in bed, Miriam sat with Jacob on the porch. The warm Abuja night air was comforting, but the weight of the conversation she needed to have was heavy. "Jacob, we need to talk," Miriam began, her voice steady but serious. Jacob looked at her, concern etching lines on his face. "What's wrong, Miriam?" Miriam took a deep breath. "Rosemary called. She's planning to come back and cause more trouble. We need to be ready." Jacob's expression darkened. What does she want now? Haven't we done enough to keep her satisfied? She wants more, Jacob. She's not going to stop until she gets everything she wants, Miriam said, trying to keep her voice calm. We need a new plan. The next morning, Miriam met Jessica at their usual spot in the park. She explained the situation and Jessica listened intently, her face growing more determined with every word. We need to find a way to make Rosemary's life so difficult that she has no choice but to back off, Jessica said. Maybe we can dig up some dirt on her, something that will make her think twice about coming after you again. Miriam nodded. But how do we find something like that? We don't even know where to start. Jessica smiled. I have a contact who might be able to help. He's a private investigator. He can dig into Rosemary's past and see if there's anything we can use. Miriam felt a glimmer of hope. Let's do it. A few days later, they met with the private investigator, Mr. Ajayi. He was a middle-aged man, sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. I understand you have a problem with this woman, Rosemary, Mr. Ajayi said. I will see what I can find. Give me a week. The waiting was excruciating. Miriam tried to go about her daily life, but the anxiety was always there, lurking in the back of her mind. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Mr. Ajayi called. I found something, he said simply. We need to meet. Miriam and Jessica met him at a small, secluded cafe. Mr. Ajayi placed a folder on the table and opened it. Inside were photos, documents, and various pieces of information about Rosemary. It turns out Rosemary has been involved in some shady dealings, Mr. Ajayi explained. She's been embezzling money from the company she's working at. If this information gets out, she'll be in serious trouble. Miriam felt a surge of triumph. This is perfect. We can use this to make her back off. Jessica nodded. But we have to be careful. We can't let her know we have this information until the right moment. They devised a plan to confront Rosemary with the evidence, but only if she refused to leave them alone. Miriam felt more confident, knowing they had a powerful weapon in their arsenal. A week later, Rosemary called Miriam again. "I am back in Abuja," she said, her voice dripping with malice. "And I am ready to make sure your life a living hell." Miriam's heart pounded, but she remained calm. "Rosemary, let's meet and talk. There is something you need to see." They arranged to meet at a quiet cafe. Miriam and Jessica arrived early. The folder with the evidence securely in Miriam's bag. When Rosemary walked in, she looked confident, almost smug. Miriam felt a surge of anger but kept her composure. "Rosemary, we have something to show you," Miriam began, sliding the folder across the table. "I think you'll find it very interesting." Rosemary's eyes narrowed as she opened the folder. As she flipped through the pages, her expression changed from curiosity to shock to fury. "Where did you get this?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "That's not important," Jessica said calmly. "What's important is that we have it. And if you don't leave Miriam and her family alone, this information will go public." Rosemary's face twisted with rage, but she knew she was cornered. "Fine," she spat. "You win this time, but don't think this is over." Miriam felt a wave of relief as Rosemary stormed out of the cafe. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. As they left the cafe, Miriam turned to Jessica. "Thank you for everything. I don't know what I would have done without you." Jessica smiled. "We will always have each other's backs, Miriam, no matter what." Life slowly returned to normal. Miriam and Jacob grew even closer, their bond strengthened by the trials they had faced. The children thrived, blissfully unaware of the storm that had passed over their family. But Miriam knew they had to remain vigilant. Rosemary might be defeated for now, but she was still out there waiting for another opportunity to strike. Miriam was ready with her family and friends by her side. She knew they could face anything together. As the weeks turned into months, Miriam and Jacob found a new rhythm in their lives. The threat of Rosemary's return lingered in the back of their minds, but they were determined to focus on their family's happiness. So one sunny Saturday afternoon, Miriam and Jessica sat in the park, watching their children play. The air was filled with laughter and the scent of blooming flowers. Jessica turned to Miriam, a thoughtful look on her face. "Miriam, have you thought about what we've learned from all of this?" Jessica asked. Miriam nodded slowly. "I think about it every day. We've been through so much and it has changed us." Jessica smiled. "I've learned that true friendship is invaluable. We've supported each other through thick and thin. I don't know what I would have done without you." Miriam felt a surge of gratitude. "And I've learned the importance of honesty and trust in a marriage. Jacob and I have become stronger because we faced the truth together." As they talked, Jacob approached with a thoughtful expression. "Miriam, there is something I need to say," he began. Miriam looked up, sensing the seriousness in his face. "What is it, Jacob?" "I've been thinking about everything we've been through," Jacob said. "I realized that running from our problems only makes things worse. We need to face our fears head on and be honest with each other." Miriam felt tears well up in her eyes. "You're right, Jacob. We need to be open and trust each other completely." Jacob nodded. "And I've decided that we need to talk to the kids. They deserve to know the truth, in a way they can understand. It's time to be completely honest." Miriam's heart pounded, but she knew Jacob was right. "Okay, let's do it." That evening, they gathered the children in the living room. Miriam and Jacob explained in simple terms about the challenges their family had faced, emphasizing the importance of love, honesty, and sticking together. The children listened attentively, their eyes wide with understanding. When they finished, their eldest, Nneka, spoke up. "So no matter what happens, we stick together as a family, right?" Miriam smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "Exactly, Nneka. We face everything together." Days turned into weeks, and the tension that had once filled their home began to dissipate. Miriam and Jacob found solace in their renewed commitment to each other and their family. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Miriam felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" she said softly. Jacob took her hand. "Yes, we have. And we've learned so much along the way." Miriam nodded. "I've learned that no matter how dark things seem, there's always a way through if we face our problems with courage and honesty." Jacob smiled. "And I've learned that true love means standing by each other. Even when things get tough, we can overcome anything as long as we have each other." Jessica joined them on the porch, carrying a tray of drinks. "To friendship, love, and family," she said, raising her glass. Miriam and Jacob raised theirs, clinking them together. "To facing our fears and coming out stronger." Miriam nodded. As they sipped their drinks, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city of Abuja. The challenges they had faced had not been easy, but they had emerged stronger and more united.
Moral lessons. 1. The power of honesty. Facing the truth, no matter how difficult, is crucial in maintaining trust and strengthening relationships. Miriam and Jacob's decision to be honest with each other and their children brought them closer and built a foundation of trust. 2. Value of friendship. True friendship stand by you through thick and thin. Jessica's unwavering support and loyalty were instrumental in helping Miriam navigate her challenges. A strong friendship can provide the strength and perspective needed to overcome life's obstacles. 3. Strength in unity. A family that faces challenges together grows stronger. Miriam and Jacob's commitment to their family and to each other helped them overcome seemingly unsurmountable problems. Unity and support within a family are key to enduring hardships. 4. Courage to confront problems. Running away from problems only makes them worse. Miriam and Jacob learned that facing their issues head-on with courage and determination was the only way to find solution and peace. 5.
The importance of forgiveness. Jacob's plea for forgiveness and Miriam's willingness to forgive highlighted the power of forgiveness in healing and moving forward. Holding on to grudges only deepens wounds, while forgiveness paves the way for reconciliation and growth. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Miriam felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lessons learned and the strength they had found. She knew that whatever the future held, they were ready to face it together as a family. We have come to the end of the story. If you love this video, please kindly share with your loved ones. Leave us a comment on your opinion.
Hello everyone, my name is Adaugo and you're watching the African Tales channel by Adaugo. Before we dive into today's video, please kindly click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. James and Blessing lived in the bustling city of Kaduna, Nigeria. They had been married for 13 years and had 2 lovely children, Samuel and Mary. James worked hard, but he wasn't very rich. His older brother John was kind and helped James by paying the children's school fees. One sunny afternoon, Blessing realized she had lost her phone. She felt upset because she loved taking pictures of her children and chatting with friends. James saw how sad she was and decided to help. He gave her one of his old phones to use. Blessing was grateful and quickly set it up, eager to reconnect with her friends on Facebook. As she logged into her Facebook account, something strange happened. Her husband's old messages started appearing on the screen. Curious, Blessing began to read them. What she discovered made her heart race and her hands tremble. James had been sending romantic messages to Lovette, John's wife. At first, Lovette didn't respond to James' advances, but as Blessing read more, she saw that Lovette eventually gave in. The messages revealed that James and Lovette had been meeting in secret, even in John's own bed. Blessing felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and betrayal. How could James do this to her? How could Lovette betray John, who was so kind and supportive? Blessing's mind was spinning with questions and confusion. She decided to confront James about what she had discovered. When James came home that evening, Blessing waited until the children were asleep. She took a deep breath and showed him the messages on his phone. James' face turned pale as he realized what had happened. "Blessing, I can explain," he stammered. But Blessing didn't want to hear any excuses. Tears streamed down her face as she asked, "How could you do this to us? To your own brother?" James had no good answer. He knew he had made a terrible mistake, but it was too late to take it back. Blessing felt a storm of emotion swelling inside her. She needed time to think, to decide what to do next. Over the next few days, Blessing tried to keep herself busy, but the thought of betrayal haunted her. She watched James closely, noticing his guilt and shame. She wondered how long this affair had been going on and whether John had any idea about it. Meanwhile, John remained his usual cheerful self, completely unaware of the storm brewing within his family. He continued to help James and care for his family, thinking everything was fine. Blessing felt torn. She loved her children and didn't want to break up with their family. But she couldn't ignore what she had discovered. She also felt a growing sense of responsibility to tell John the truth about his wife and brother. One evening, as Blessing sat alone in the living room, she heard a knock on the door. It was Lovett, looking troubled and nervous. Blessing's heart pounded as she let her in. They sat down, and for a moment, there was only silence between them. "Blessing, I need to talk to you," Lovett began, her voice trembling. "I know you found out about me and James. I am so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. John doesn't deserve this, and neither do you." Blessing listened, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "Why, Lovett? Why did you do it?" Lovett took a deep breath and explained. "It started when I was feeling lonely and neglected. James was there, and I made a terrible mistake. I regret it every day, but I didn't know how to stop." Blessing felt a small pang of sympathy, but still couldn't shake her anger. She didn't know what to say or do. Should she forgive them? Would she tell John everything? As the days passed, Blessing found herself facing more and more difficult choices. She knew she couldn't keep this secret forever, but she also didn't want to destroy her family and John's happiness. One night, as Blessing lay in bed, she realized she needed help. She couldn't handle this alone. She decided to talk to her best friend, Aisha, who was always there for her. The next day, Blessing met Aisha at their favorite cafe. As they sipped their tea, Blessing poured out her heart, telling Aisha everything. Aisha listened carefully, her eyes full of concern and sympathy. "Blessing, this is a tough situation," Aisha said. "But you need to do what's best for you and your children. You also need to think about John. He deserves to know the truth." Blessing nodded, feeling a bit better after talking to Aisha. She still didn't have all the answers, but she knew she couldn't keep this secret any longer. She needed to find the strength to face the truth and make the right decisions. As the days turned into weeks, Blessing prepared herself for the difficult conversations ahead. She knew that no matter what happened, she had to stay strong for her children and find a way to move forward. With Aisha's words echoing in her mind, Blessing decided it was time to confront John. She dreaded the pain it would cause, but knew it was the right thing to do. One evening, after ensuring her children were settled in bed, she called John and asked him to come over, mentioning it was important. John arrived, smiling warmly as always. Unaware of the emotional storm awaiting him, Blessing led him to the living room. Her heart pounding in her chest, she offered him a seat and took a deep breath before speaking. "John, there's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice trembling. "It's about James and Lovett." John's smile faded, replaced by a look of concern. "What is it, Blessing? Is something wrong?" Blessing's eyes filled with tears as she recounted what she had discovered. She showed him the messages from James' old phone, and John's face turned ashen as he read them. He sat in stunned silence, struggling to process the betrayal by his wife and brother. I can't believe this," John finally whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Why would they do this to me?" Blessing reached out, placing a comforting hand on John's shoulder. "I am so sorry, John. I didn't know how to tell you, but you deserve to know the truth." John buried his face in his hands, overwhelmed by a torrent of emotions. Anger, Sorrow and confusion swelled within him. He thought of all the times he had supported James and cared for his family, never suspecting such a betrayal. "I need to talk to them," John said after a long silence, his voice filled with determination. "I need to hear it from them." The next day, John comforted James and Lovett, demanding an explanation. James looked at his brother, shame written all over his face. Lovett stood beside them, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Why, James? Why did you betray me?" John asked, his voice breaking. James couldn't meet John's gaze. "I am so sorry, John. I made a terrible mistake. I don't know what came over me." Lovett sobbed, clutching John's arm. "John, please forgive me. I was lonely and made a horrible mistake. I regret it every day." John's heart ached with a mix of anger and sorrow. He had loved and trusted them both, and their betrayal cut deep. "I need time to think," he said, turning away from them. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you." Over the next few days, John struggled to come to terms with the betrayal. He couldn't sleep, haunted by images of James and Lovett together. He distanced himself from everyone, needing space to process his pain. Meanwhile, Blessing tried to hold her family together. She still loved James, despite his mistakes, but she didn't know if she could trust him again. And she was worried about their children and how this would affect them. One evening, James approached Blessing, his eyes filled with regrets. "Blessing, I know I've hurt you deeply, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to make things right. I love you and our children. Please give me a chance to prove myself." Blessing looked at James, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. She still loved him, but the pain of his betrayal was fresh. "James, I don't know if I can ever fully trust you again, but for the sake of our children, I am willing to try. You need to earn back my trust." James nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "I will, Blessing. I promise I'll do whatever it takes." As time passed, Blessing and James worked hard to rebuild their relationship. It wasn't easy, and there were many difficult moments, but they were determined to try. John, on the other hand, continued to struggle with his emotions. He kept his distance from James and Lovett, unsure if he could ever forgive them. The days turned into weeks, and the family tried to find a new normal. Blessing focused on her children, ensuring they felt loved and secure. She also leaned on Aisha for support, grateful for her friend's unwavering presence. One sunny afternoon, as Blessing sat in the garden watching Samuel and Mary play, she felt a glimmer of hope. Life had been turned upside down, but she was determined to find a way forward. She knew it would take time and effort, but she believed they could heal and become stronger. John, too, found solace in his own way. He spent more time with his friends and sought comfort in his faith. Slowly, he began to find a path towards healing, though forgiveness still felt far away. As the family navigated their new reality, they discovered that love and forgiveness were not easy, but they were worth striving for. They learned that even in the face of betrayal, there was still a chance for redemption and a new beginning. As the months passed, life in the Adeyemi household began to settle into a new rhythm. James made a conscious effort to win back Blessing's trust. He took on more responsibilities at home, spending quality times with Samuel and Mary, and ensuring Blessing felt valued and appreciated. One evening, as they sat together on the porch watching the sunset, James reached for Blessing's hand. "Thank you for giving me a second chance," he said softly. "I know it hasn't been easy." Blessing squeezed his hand gently. "We are in this together, James. I see the effort you're making, and it means a lot. We have a long way to go, but I believe we can heal." Meanwhile, John had thrown himself into his work, finding solace in his responsibilities. However, the pain of betrayal still lingered. One day, he decided to visit his pastor for guidance. He explained the situation, seeking advice on how to move forward. The pastor listened carefully, then said, "John, forgiveness is a journey. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened, but it allows you to find peace. Sometimes we need to let go of the hurt to make room for healing." John left the meeting with a lot to think about. He wasn't ready to forgive James and Lovette completely, but he knew he needed to start letting go of the bitterness that was consuming him. One weekend, Blessing suggested a family trip to a nearby park. She hoped that spending time together away from the house would help everyone relax and reconnect. James agreed, and they invited John along, hoping it might be a step forward or towards mending their fractured relationship. At the park, the children ran around playing. Their laughter filled the air. Blessing and James watched them, feeling a sense of normalcy return. John sat on a bench, initially distant, but gradually he began to engage, joining in the games with Samuel and Mary. Later, as they all sat down for a picnic, John looked at James and Blessing. "I know things have been hard," he began, his voice steady. "I don't know if I'll ever fully understand why it happened, but I am willing to try to move past it for the sake of our family." James' eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, John. I can't express how sorry I am for everything. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." The moment was heavy with emotion, but it was a step towards healing. As the sun set and they packed up to leave, there was a sense of cautious optimism in the air. Back home, life continued to improve slowly but surely. James and Blessing's relationship grew stronger as they communicated more openly and worked through their issues. John found solace in small steps, engaging more with his family and finding peace in his faith and work. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, there was a knock on the door. Blessing opened it to find Lovette standing there, her eyes red from crying. She looked at John, James and Blessing, then took a deep breath. "I know I've caused so much pain," she began, her voice shaking. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say I am truly sorry. I was selfish and hurt the people I love most." John stood up facing Lovette. The room was silent, the tension thick. Finally, John spoke. "Lovette, I appreciate your apology. It's going to take time, but I am willing to try and move forward for our family's sake." Lovette nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, John. I will do whatever it takes to make things right."